It's come at a time when the union government is regularly accused of trying to impose its right-wing ideology under fire yet again. Three recent decisions, three recent developments have put the Modi administration back in the spotlight. First, a government ministry booklet by the Ministry of AYUSH on child rearing and pregnancy. A booklet recommending abstinence from sex and non-vegetarian food for expecting mothers. Then the questionable appointment of 7 members to the Animal Welfare Board who are all Gaurakshaks. Thirdly, it's the Premier Engineering Institute of IIT Kanpur, which has now banned Western convocation gowns and have adopted the traditional Indian attire. The question, of course, we are raising is that is a Sanskari Sarkar trying to implement its ideology? Is the government getting a bit too Sanskari is a question that we are debating this evening at 6 p.m. Let's start with the first instance. The AYUSH Ministry now has put the government in a bit of bother. The reason why? Because a booklet which was released on pregnancy and child rearing recommends abstinence from sex and non-vegetarian for expectant mothers. It has been condemned as unscientific, irrational by critics, but the ministry maintains that the recommendations are based on years of clinical practice in the field of yoga and naturopathy. Moreover, the Ministry of AYUSH has also come up with a clarification where they have said that it's taken years of clinical study to reach this conclusion in the fields of yoga, naturopathy and Ayurveda. Secondly, it says that this is not a new booklet. It's been in circulation for the last 3 years. And thirdly, the Ministry of AYUSH contends that it doesn't mention that after conception a woman cannot have sex.
The national...
All right, so the question we'd like to ask at 6 p.m. is that these pregnancy tips given out by this booklet by the Ministry of AYUSH, can we read it as a moral lecture, or are these basic Ayurveda facts which this booklet is actually giving out? They're not being imposed. There are not, there's nothing that says that you have to follow it. These are Ayurvedic suggestions. All right, let me cut across right now. We have Syed Zafar Islam, National Spokesperson, BJP. He's joining us live. We also have Dr. Nasir Hussain, Spokesperson, Congress. Want to go to Syed Zafar Islam first. You know, Mr. Islam, lots of criticism coming in where this booklet, of course, the AYUSH Ministry just about an hour ago has come up with a clarification as well. But the clarification still, doesn't quell what has been raised by many critics who have called this extremely unscientific and irrational.
So, Preeti, the way you have to see it in the right perspective. This is a research which has been done. The recommendation of research, as you heard from the ministry as well as the other spokesperson who was speaking, that they have years of scientific research has been done, and the conclusion they have, whatever conclusion they had, they have put it in. It's not that it is a mandatory for everyone to that they have to follow it, but it's something which they feel that it is appropriate for a pregnant woman to follow it. It is not something which is mandatory. It's not that it is being imposed on any pregnant women. It is at their discretion. They can follow whatever they feel appropriate for their consumption. But there is something which, based on the research, based on the study, based on the lot of efforts which has put in, they found that this is something which is more appropriate than having a non-veg meal or having meat only or eggs only instead of normal vegetarian food. There are people who never eat. There are people who never eat non-vegetarian food, neither egg nor meat. They also are very healthy as the people who consume meat as well as eggs. So it is not that any distinction is being made there.
All right.
Yes. This is the study, and this conclusion has been put in for public. In public.
All right, Mr. Hussain, I want to bring you in. With your permission, Mr. Islam, let me also bring in Dr. Nasir Hussain, who's joining us. Dr. Hussain, with what Mr. Islam is saying, there's no imposition in all of this. Let's say if the Health Ministry had come up with these guidelines, there could have been an issue. The AYUSH Ministry has come up with it, where the mainstay of this ministry is Ayurveda, is naturopathy, is yoga. Now, under the tenets of all three, these are the studies, clinical studies, which suggest that it should not be done. It's a suggestion. One wants to take it, take it. Why make such an issue?
See, this government is following a particular mindset, and the mindset is taking us backwards, not anyway progressive in nature. What this government is trying to do is push a particular agenda through various ministries, whether it is Health Ministry, AYUSH Ministry, whether it is Ministry of Education, whatever it is. We have seen series of onslaughts on modern liberal thinking, on the independence and freedom of people, what they want to eat, what they want to wear, what they want to practice, what kind of thought process they want to. But somehow, what is happening in the last 3 years is, because of the obscurantism kind of an thought process that this ministry, this government, and the ideological basis for this government,
an ideological agenda
they have
is at play
in these kind of things for over ages.
All right. You know, Mr. Islam, point made.
This thing is, see, if RSS had told this, we wouldn't have managed. Even if BJP would have told this, we wouldn't have managed. See, the government machinery, using government machinery, public money to further their agenda is something which is not acceptable in
All right.
India.
Dr. Hussain has a point, Mr. Islam, and he says that there's a particular agenda which the government is trying to propagate and now using a government machinery for that. And there's reason, you know, and I'd like to move on to our next story. The reason gets bolstered as well, Mr. Zafar Islam. Let's look at our second story. Now, the government is under fire again for the questionable appointment of what seems like is 7 members to the Animal Welfare Board who are all connected to cow welfare. All of them have Gau Rakshaks on their CV. Also, in a departure from the norm, the government has appointed an Environment Ministry official as the chairperson. It is being seen now as a move by the government to whip into an acquiescence the Animal Welfare Board, which had opposed the government's move to legalize Jallikat last year. Well, with the latest development right now,
Preeti, can you hear me?
All right, the question we want to ask is, in India, does animal welfare equal to cow welfare? That's the question we're trying to put across. Let me once again cut across to Mr. Zafar Islam. Mr. Islam, let's come down to this now. You know, let's, at one end, of course, you have an AYUSH Ministry, which, like Dr. Nasir is saying, is trying to propagate an agenda. On the other hand, at this point of time, you have 8 members who go to the Animal Welfare Board, Mr. Islam. Out of them, 7 have Gau Rakshaks on their CV. Is cow an endangered species? No. Then why?
See, it's very unfair on part of the media that they are actually pinpointing even the appointment. See, these appointments are done on the basis of merit. Why do you think that there are so many animals are there, so many species are there? Do we need to appoint from every single?
But
so
7 members.
Tons and millions
but 7
and millions
members,
of members.
Said Zafar Islam.
So,
7. All Gau Rakshaks.
Let me just.
Yes.
These you need. So these anybody who is a animal welfare, who believes in welfare of animal, should automatically become eligible for becoming an independent member on animal welfare board. How does it matter whether they take care of the cow, they take care of dog, they take care of cat, or they take care of anything else? As long as their belief and their faith is in that they have faith that they should work in the welfare of animal.
Dr. Hussain wants to come
in. Basic criteria for choosing anyone. And it should not be, because their basic quality, like for instance, let me give you one example.
No.
You can be graduate. You can be graduate, you can do anything.
Mr. Islam,
because you
the
get
fact
a license
is that you have 8.
To be
Mr. Islam, it's very clear. You had a position for 8 members. It's, it's not just that 7 of them are who have links where cow protection is concerned? Why not other animals, sir?
What is this board called? What is this board called? Listen, Priti, let me ask you a counter question. What is this? What is the responsibility of this board?
Animal welfare.
It's welfare of animal.
Not cow welfare.
Don't you think that they are
not
welfare
cow
of animal?
welfare alone, sir?
Yeah.
You don't think it's disproportionate? Let me bring it. Let Dr. Hussain come in. Dr. Hussain.
No, I don't think. I say this. It should not be. Every let me. Every single appointment will be disproportionate.
Yes.
You will have the same observation every single appointment because there are only not 10 animals. There are not only 8 animals. There are 84,000 animals. For every single
Mr. Islam,
animal,
let Dr. Hussain come in. Yes, Dr. Hussain.
Mr. Hussain has an agenda. Mr. Hussain has on.
Priti, as I mentioned earlier, Priti,
yes.
as I mentioned earlier, this government has an agenda. See, when they can appoint Mr. Yogi Adityanath as the Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh, who is very well known for promoting Hindu Yuva Vahini and lumpenizing politics in that region of Uttar Pradesh, who had called for militant kind of an Hinduization in that area, who was involved in perpetrating violence against various sections in the name of caste and religion, was appointed as Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh. So I am not at all surprised when they appoint Gaurakshaks who in the name of protecting cow have unleashed an agenda of violence, have targeted people from a particular community, and they have been mob lynchings across
the position of Vice President.
So
what is the criteria you had adopted to make him Vice President? Tell me first, tell the nation first. What was the criteria to make him Mr. Nasir Hussain?
Let's stick to one second, Mr. Islam and Dr. Hussain. Let's stick to what we're talking about.
You had adopted for choosing Rahul Gandhi as Vice President of Congress Party.
Sir. Let's stick to the issue, Mr. Islam, and why get personal? What are we talking about? Let's stick to is an increasing chorus in the country which suggests that the government has a cultural ideological agenda which it is trying to implement through government machinery and other avenues like educational institutes. Now, the latest example in that is the Premier Engineering Institute of IIT Kanpur, which has sparked a huge debate by asking all graduating students to wear traditional Indian attire at their convocation ceremony. Instead of robes, they will now wear Indian traditional attire.
So we are quite satisfied with this, and yeah, it's a big change. Isko politics se I don't think so we should associate, but it's about culture, and like IIT is a premier institute and it started in 58. So उस time पे British influence और English influence बहुत ज़्यादा था. USA के collaboration में this institute was formulated. So अभी हम self-sustained institute हैं. So it's better that we shift to our own culture.
इस बार कुर्ता पजामा पहनने को मिलेगा जो कि अच्छा है, गाउन से बेटर है, इंडिया को रिप्रेजेंट करता है. कुर्ता पजामा मींस हमारे कल्चर को रिप्रेजेंट करता है, इंडिया में रहते हैं.
तो 50th कन्वोकेशन हुआ तो ये स्टूडेंट से पूछा गया कि आप कुछ नया करना चाहेंगे इस कन्वोकेशन में, तब उनका आया कि सर हम अटायर चेंज करते हैं इस बार.
सो लड़के जो हैं कुर्ता अलीगढ़ी टाइप कुर्ता है, और नहीं अलीगढ़ी पैजामा एंड कुर्ता जो कि जूट टाइप के मटेरियल में है और थोड़ा सा क्रीम कलर है. आपने देख लिया होगा वेबसाइट में है. लड़कियों का ड्रेस भी वो रहेगा.
So no convocation gown, only Indian attire, prompts us to ask one question there. Is this an imposition of what is considered now Sanskari values? Or is it what the students wanted? Because what the students say is that they were the one who actually voted for Indian attire. Let me cut across to Syed Zafar Islam from the BJP and Dr. Nasir Hussain from the Congress. Mr. Islam, yet another instance where it seems that under the garb of getting rid of the colonial hangover, the government somewhere down the line trying to project its agenda through means such as the AYUSH Ministry, the Animal Welfare Board and education centers like the IIT.
See, before I respond to you, Priti, I also request Mr. Nasir Hussain to see what you are flashing as a breaking news, what his own colleague, a Congress worker or member, has spoken about Rahul Gandhi. He referred
the
to him
debate
as
is not
puppy.
about Rahul Gandhi,
that is
Mr. Islam. Let's stick to what we're talking about.
No, I'm saying.
Why are we digressing? What's the point of this?
Now the response.
Islam doesn't have any argument.
Let me respond to you that reason why. No, I will tell you the reason why. Because now we believe that there is an Indian culture.
You don't have any
you believe there's an Indian culture. I understand, Mr. Islam, but the imposition of that Indian culture is the problem.
And whatever we have imbibed from the foreign culture, from European culture, that should go.
Who is
and that
we?
Is something which we pride.
Mr. Islam, who is we?
Take pride in it.
Who is we? Are you talking for the country?
That, yes.
Are you talking for the country?
We want to. No,
who is we?
We as an Indian.
Who is we? Who's the Indian here? Is the BJP? No, 1 second. Is your government?
As an Indian.
Does your government encapsulate everything to do with Indian and Indian values and nationalism, sir?
Including Mr. Nasir Hussain.
So who is? No, but there are people who disagree.
All three of us.
No, Mr. Islam, there are people who disagree, so you cannot take a unilateral decision.
There should be Indianization in everything we do.
1 second, Mr. Islam, you cannot take a unilateral decision and count us as we, because a lot of we don't agree. A lot of we don't quite agree.
See, I am telling you, we as an Indian, see, you may disagree with me, but we as an Indian must advocate that everything should be Indianized. And there should be
we as Indians could disagree with what you're trying to say, Mr. Islam.
Should take pride in.
And that's the beauty of democracy. Then we should not be a democracy.
No, where is the
we should be a dictatorship.
Where is the question of disagreement?
Because then
where is the question of disagreement? Why? What is the disagreement you have
because then a few can take decisions for a collective.
Don't you feel that there is a culture?
Let Mr. Islam come in. Let Mr. Islam come in. Yes, Mr. Islam.
Something which gives
sorry. Let Dr. Nasir come in from the Congress. Yes, Dr. Nasir.
Mr.
Preeti, I can only laugh at the government positions and at the spokesperson, the kind of position he is taking. I just want to ask you, what is culture? Who has defined culture? Who will decide what our culture was and what our culture is? Does anybody has a dictionary on culture? Does there is something called this is our culture or this is foreign culture? See, we are a free country. We have given to ourselves a constitution. We have
given. Please get rid of this slave.
The people of this country have given a constitution to ourselves.
You still have a slave-like mindset.
No, it's not. It's not. 1 second.
Take pride being an Indian and take pride in our culture.
Nobody can
impose. It's a slave-like mindset. You are speaking like a slave.
What is your culture?
Of Western culture.
What is your culture?
Don't be a slave. That's the fallacy of this argument because we have decided cannot be a we till the time a few take decisions for a collective. You have to be, you cannot impose something just because you feel it's culturally right. And that's why we are a democracy, sir.
I'm not imposing, but I'm saying that we must advocate.
He can't vary the...
All right, okay.
I'm not saying that
we are imposing. The debate continues, and hopefully everybody should be able to take their own decisions. And where at least our viewers stand on this, we let them take their decision on their own. We put out the facts there. 3 developments which somewhere down the line seemed that the government was trying to push forward an agenda, but counterpoints to that as well. Appreciate our guests for joining us. News and updates continue.